I can't do the dinosaur roar. Hello, welcome to Lopez Power Lopez review of Jurassic Park. Okay, so I know I've been getting requests from my dear friend Benjamin Snyder to do True Lies. I can't, it's been really hard for me to find a copy of that movie, even on the internet. My internet can't handle potluckers. So in the meantime, I'm looking for my VHS, but in the meantime, I'll review Jurassic Park. Now, Jurassic Park is a 1993 science fiction thriller action horror film. That's how I describe it. I'm a big fan of the Jurassic Park movies. I love Jurassic Park 1. I really like Lost World. I think it's kind of underrated. Jurassic Park 3, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. It's not that good. 4, I only saw twice, but I really liked it. I thought it kind of felt like a 1970s B movie from that time, like Westworld or something like that, or Jaws. But anyway, Jurassic Park was a very groundbreaking movie for its time due to special effects. It was kind of one of the movies, this and Terminator 2, like I mentioned and I praised, were kind of the movies that started CGI into the mainstream audiences. Especially, I think, really with this movie more than Terminator 2, because at the time this was one of the biggest grossing movie of all time till Titanic. I really like this movie. I love this movie. When I was doing my list, I kind of forgot to stick this movie somewhere in there. There's just so many good movies. But favorite movies, 30 favorite movies. I was trying to do it one time. I forgot. I don't know if I stuck this in there, but I kind of forgot to stick it in there, I think. But it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely one of the most nostalgic movies of my youth. I used to watch this movie a lot because I was obsessed with dinosaurs. So the movie, if you don't know, is about these these scientists, along with John Hammond, or John Hammond along with scientists, found fossilized mosquitoes that has dinosaur blood in it. With this blood, they can clone dinosaurs. So Hammond and crew get the brilliant idea to open a theme park zoo to feature these dinosaurs to the world. But the thing is when they're transferring in the Velociraptors, one of the crew member got killed and eaten by the Velociraptors, thus making concerns with lawyers. So the lawyers come in and tell Hammond to select him, and he brings a person, and Hammond has to bring some people to look at the park to see if it's okay to run, if it's right for it to run, if they have to give their blessing to John Hammond. So anyway, the scientists they bring is two diggers, a chaotician, and two of his grandchildren. Now, this movie, like I said from my Jurassic World review, has very memorable characters. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, very memorable characters. Each character in this movie, John Hammond, all have quotable lines. It's kind of the way they deliver it. They deliver it in such odd and whimsical that it's just you get with it, and it's really fun to watch these characters interact with these problems. I love Sam Neill. He's kind of like a mixture of Indiana Jones and James Bond. I mean, this guy is just kind of very charming, but very laid back and relaxed. Of course, Jeff Goldblum, just knocks it out of the ballpark with memorability and quotes in this movie. Great performance, very memorable performance. But it's at the time it's very memorable. But if someone who is very familiar, like with Jeff Goldblum's work, uh, will kind of feel like it's just another Jeff Goldblum performance. But for that time, Jeff Goldblum wasn't really a mainstream guy, so it was very memorable. Um, and I'm glad he came back for Lost World, even though he does look very different in Lost World than he does in this movie. I wish they would have made him look a little more like he did in this movie. It's still great to see him in that movie. She's just a great character. Of course, Laura Dern as I can't remember her name. Damn it. Um, I can't remember. But anyway, she's great. I remember her character though, but she kind of has that, kind of uh, these faces that are so memorable. Like when the camera zooms up, it's like, I really like these characters. This is a very good character movie, and of course they all have these, colors that kind of help them stand out. Like Hammond's the white dress, the Dr. Grant is the blue dressed. Of Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm is the black dress. Laura Dern's the pink dress. It's very, very helps Spielberg knew how to stand these characters out. Is there anything I don't like about the movie? Well, I really, as much as I like the lawyer character, he just kind of at times kind of seems kind of pointless and in the way. So yeah, uh, I mean I do like him a lot in the beginning, but towards the end of his life, not in the movie, he's just kind of gets in the way. Um, I mean, it's a really good movie because it's very original. Even though, yeah, maybe you could put comparisons with other Michael Crichton movies, like books like Westworld, or I don't know, a lot of disaster movies. It's a very, very original movie. But the thing about the 80s and 90s and also the 70s were very original in movies. Hollywood, especially with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, very original movie. It would be very hard to make something like this nowadays. I mean, yeah, Jurassic World worked because it had the series based off of, but something original like this, would be, a little too much CGI and kind of just bland if it came out today. Hollywood needs to not be in the mindset of growing franchises as starting franchises. Hollywood needs to start franchises. Like, I want to see what the next Jurassic Park is, not necessarily Jurassic Park 4. I want to see what the next Back to the Future is, not Back to the Future 4, or the next Star Wars is. Although I love Star Wars, I hope that franchise keeps going, but also not only keep going these franchises, but help, create the next franchise. Not necessarily stop Jurassic Park, but, maybe until maybe it's kind of run out of steam like it did with Jurassic Park 3. But kind of, what's the next Jurassic Park, Hollywood needs to come back with originality. See, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, there were sequels, but there's also movies that started these things. There's, in the 80s, after a while, they're like, oh, they're not gonna be like, oh, how can we create more Star Wars movies? They're like, what could be the next Star Wars? And we got Indiana Jones and Back to the Future. Instead of creating a Jaws movie, what's gonna be the next Jaws movie that's like Jaws, nothing like a sequel, but the next movie that's Jaws. And of course they came up with Jurassic Park. Very, very very original idea. Of course the score is very memorable. Probably I wouldn't say the most hummable of Williams, but the most whimsical and in awe of Williams, John Williams. Um, it's very good story. The story is very good. Like I said, it's original. It's kind of your disaster movie, but also puts in a little adventure into it. Also, it's really cool to see these landscapes and these dinosaurs. And like I said in my Terminator 2 review, the CGI in this movie is so good and memorable. Why? Because they stuck it with practical effects. If it's all CGI, it loses its charm. But with this, if you mix, CGI and practicality, you appreciate it a lot more, and it sticks out as it feels more real. Also, it doesn't feel fake or bland. When you mix things together to help tell your story, it comes off really cool. I just love hearing stories like originally when they were going to make this. Um, they were gonna use stop motion. They're gonna use stop motion, and they did test runs with it, and it looked kind of cheesy. So they're like, "Oh, there's this new thing that Cameron's using called CGI," and they used it. They saw, Terminator 2, and then they decided to use it for Jurassic Park. Another interesting thing about this movie is James Cameron was going at one point held the rights for Jurassic Park, but then no, he didn't hold the rights. He was in bid to direct the movie with Universal, but he showed his vision to Universal. He was their top guy to show the vision. Him and Spielberg was second, but they wanted James Cameron to direct it first, and he showed what he thought his vision was going to be like. And then they heard Spielberg's, and then they went with Spielberg. Rightfully so, because after that, I think James Cameron went ahead with Terminator 2. So, works out best. It would have been interesting to see what James Cameron's idea for Jurassic Park was, what his pitch was like. Because from what I heard, his version was more adult. It was more of an R rating. It wasn't really PG-13. It was going to use like stop motion, like what he did for the first Terminator. And it was going to be a little more gritty, a little more of a horror film. But they like Spielberg's more science fiction thriller adventure feel to it. And I think it works better. I've read the book. The book is a little edgier, but I think something like this works better in Spielberg's adventure feel rather than Cameron's horror film gritty edge to it. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but that's what a lot of people have said, that James Cameron was going to do Jurassic Park, but the Universal didn't like his vision, and they went with Spielberg. They like Spielberg's better. But yeah, I love the score. I love these characters. The CGI is great. The practical effects is great. The Tyrannosaurus Rex scene, man, every time I see it, it's just so cool. It feels like a real dinosaur. When I think of the T-Rex, that's what I'm gonna think of. Great job by Cameron and crew. It's I definitely recommend it. I think most people have seen it. It's one of my favorite movies. It's just so original, very original movie. I like this with dinosaurs and a theme park. Michael Crichton is just a brilliant guy. And I think I do like the book, but this is one of the few occasions where I think the movie is better than the book. Like I said, the book kind of had an edgier feel to it. I like Spielberg's view of Michael Crichton's world a little better than Michael Crichton. I think the Cameron version was going to be more like the Michael Crichton book. The book had like cuss words and described it graphically. But I like Spielberg's vision better. I think it works better as an adventure thriller rather than a horror film. Very good movie, great movie, original movie. The definition of this, okay, Jaws, Star Wars, E.T., and Back to the Future, and this are like, let me see how many of that was Back to the Future, E.T., Jaws, Star Wars, and this are the five definitions of how to do a summer movie. I wish summer movies were more like this, but no. And I'd say Jurassic Park is kind of the last movie that had that originality that you had in the 70s and 80s, like with you know Jaws and like Back to the Future, Star Wars. It's kind of the last movie that kind of followed that trend, I think, is Jurassic Park. Sad but true. I mean, yeah, we did kind of get The Matrix, in the late 90s, and Pirates of the Caribbean in the early 2000s, but it wasn't like one after the other. But this is like the last time it was like consecutively original, and like very, very original Hollywood summer blockbuster. So I give the movie a 10 out of 10. Very memorable characters. I give it about a 4 out of 4. An A+. I really like this movie. I need to think where I would put it in my top 30. I'd say maybe in my top 25, somewhere in there. But one of my all-time favorite movies. Very, very original. I think most people have seen it, but if you haven't, I definitely recommend it. Get off of the couch, watch Jurassic Park. It's always playing on AMC, so like AMC plays that movie like twice a month. So look through your searchings on DVR or buy it. So great movie. Yeah, and every time it's on AMC, I'm just a sucker for it. I have to watch even just a little bit of it. But yeah, great movie. A great emotion to it. That's one thing I forgot about. Like, these animatronics create so much emotion. Like when the Triceratops is sick, I mean, it just brings so much tears to you. It's because it's real. It's not CGI. It feels so real. The dinosaurs are funny. A great story arc for Grant, becoming more accepting of kids. What's his name? Ian Malcolm didn't really get a story arc, but he didn't need to be. I don't know what you could have changed of that character. So yeah, but great movie. So see it to believe it. See you next review. Take care. God bless, and welcome to Jurassic